Hey guys, Adam here with a special video. So I recently hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and 50,000 followers on Twitch. I just want to thank you guys for subscribing. If you weren't subscribing and watching, and I couldn't do this, obviously, and it wouldn't keep building, so I appreciate that first of all. So I know that usually at these milestones, people do like a special celebration or something like that. So when I hit 100,000, I put the word out in Discord and a couple other places, asking, what should we do? What should I do for this? And one of the things that kept coming up was to do an AMA video. I mean, I answer questions on stream all the time, but I've never done like an official AMA video. And so I thought it might be a fun idea. So I put out a forum and I left it up for a week or two and got a ton of questions, lots of repeat questions. I have went through the question list. There's a big variety of questions on there. This is probably gonna be a long video. Hopefully you enjoy it. All right, but anyway, without further ado, let's get started on this AMA, this Ask Me Anything. All right, question number 1 is from Sinful Mage. Sinful Mage asks, what is the most fun you've ever had on stream? It's hard to pinpoint an exact moment from all the time I've streamed, but typically the most fun moments on the streams are the like really silly moments. Things like recently we did a partial playthrough of Schedule 1. It was just really silly. Aside from that though, like, wrapping up a really crazy challenge, maybe like back when I did the Darkest Dungeon crazy challenge, which I'll talk about later. I've seen some people ask about that. So yeah, I guess that would be my answer. Taiho asks, what is your least favorite DLC and how would you improve it? It's a tough one because with RimWorld, honestly, all the DLCs are good, and even the worst DLCs are still like pretty friggin' good, right? They're still better than a lot of games DLCs or paid content. So it's a really tough one. I would put like Royalty versus Anomaly for different reasons. At the end of the day, if I had to pick between that, I would probably say Royalty, even though I do interact and use more of even though I do interact with Royalty more often. So Royalty, of course, adds like psi casting, which is crazy, really strong. It adds tech prints, including Cataphract armor, which is still the best armor in the game, defensively anyway. The Royalty questline and stuff is relatively straightforward and linear. The Anomaly is also very linear. But yeah, they kind of fill that same place in my mind. Like I look at Ideology and Biotech and now Odyssey. I mean, it's the new kid on the block, so time will tell, but it's really feeling that way. Those feel like real core expansions to the RimWorld experience, whereas Royalty and Anomaly are more like DLCs. The other 3 are expansions, and those 2 are DLCs. Now, to be fair, Royalty being the smallest DLC, it's a product of its time. It's extremely racist. No, what I really mean is like Ludian was a smaller company then, less people working there, their first DLC experience. So it makes sense that Royalty is just the smallest DLC, right? As far as what I would change with Royalty to make it better, I don't know. Like, thinking of it today, like if they made Royalty today with the polish and the teams and stuff they have working on things like Odyssey, they remade Royalty, who knows what it could be like. Anastasia, hopefully I'm pronounced that right, asks, what got you into RimWorld? Were you following it in the beta, not yet fully released? Were the games that inspired it at the time, like Dwarf Fortress or Prison Architect, on your radar? Or had you played those before? So when RimWorld was in beta, the reason I found it was a streamer that I watched for a little bit of Darkest Dungeon stuff, and I think FTL, Faster Light, which I still haven't played, but I watched him play it some. Also would play RimWorld occasionally, and then he got into it even more. And then someone in my stream gifted me a key. I don't even think it was through Steam at the time. I think it was through Ludian themselves. The game was just launched on desktop or something. But I did play a little bit of the beta then. I would come back every now and then, do like partial runs and things, even on stream. As far as Prison Architect and Dwarf Fortress, I have played both of those. I believe my Dwarf Fortress playthrough is up on YouTube. Prison Architect is not up on YouTube. But I played those after I played RimWorld, actually. So RimWorld was my gateway drug to trying those, not the other way around. But yeah, I got into RimWorld by seeing a stream. I had not heard about it before then. Waddle High asks, what is the most important thing you think everybody can improve in their life? Basically, give me life advice, okay? I could probably talk about this for ages. I'll just tell you 2 important things for me and that have worked for me. They may or may not work for you. The first one I've talked about on the stream sometimes before. There's this thing I used to call, I always think of the thing I used to call it for my daughter. When my daughter was little, I call it munchable chunks. So what the crap is munchable chunks? So let's say that your goal is to start to be healthier. You want to walk more. And you're like, man, I'm gonna start walking a mile a day, right? A mile a day might seem very little to some people and seem crazy lot to the next, right? But going from maybe not doing any of that to walking a mile can be daunting. Instead of saying you're going to walk any amount, let's bring that down and start a habit that's easier to get into, like the very basic part of that, right? So what do you need to do to go out and walk? What you would do is have the habit be like putting on the stuff that you would wear to go for your walk, like whatever your walking shoes are or jacket or whatever, right? You'll find oftentimes that once you get those things on, you're like, all right, I might as well get up and at least walk out to the mailbox and back, right? And then if you get to the mailbox, a lot of times it's like, all right, well, I can walk to the stop sign. And you'll find more often than not, the inertia of getting started is going to carry you on to do the original daunting goal that you wanted to do, sometimes even more, right? However, on those mornings that you don't get the motivation to do that, if your goal was to put on your walking shoes and you put them on and take them off, that's still a minor victory. It's a psychological thing, but it's still, even if it feels silly, even in the moment or thinking about it now, that like psychological thing of like, okay, a small victory, right? You did that munchable chunk, which I always called it to my daughter. The second thing I'll go through a little bit more quickly, and it's something that I try to do my best. Not perfect at it. I don't know anyone that is, but it's try to suffer less, which sounds kind of silly, but what I mean is never suffer twice. Everyone's gonna worry. I'm only human. I worry about things too. But let's say you worry about something and then it goes badly. You've suffered twice. You worry about something and it goes well you suffered once. You suffered even though it went well. If you don't worry as much about something and it goes poorly, you suffered once. If you don't worry too much about something and then it goes well, you didn't suffer at all. A lot of times, and I've told this to my daughter as well, you don't need to suffer twice. Oftentimes when you worry, it'll turn out fine, right? Way better than you would have expected, more often than not. Easier said than done, like I said, and you can look up all kinds of stuff about this to maybe help you try to work on it. I'm still working on it myself. I've been doing it for years and it's still difficult sometimes, right? So, stupid American root beer. Seeking asks, what are your plans in the long term for the channel? Your work in the public eye. Anything you'd love to be able to do that might not get a lot of views? Follow-up question. Would you ever consider doing a fan art showcase, or do you have submissions for animations and stuff like that? So in the long term, I guess I want to continue making content for the channel and content in general. I would say that the overall goal, like the channel name suggests, is to get more and more into variety stuff. I've done that a lot more over the years. I am still going to play RimWorld, right? But I would rather it be that the variety can support everything if that's what I wanted to do for like a few months or a few weeks or whatever the case might be, right? As far as the art and fan art and stuff, I actually have had people submit things over the years, maybe about 10 things over the years. I actually had those up on my website. The website's getting redone right now. If you do submit anything, just, tag me in Discord. You can submit it there. You can email it to me, whatever. But yeah, by all means, I think it's pretty surreal again. So definitely suffer a lot from like imposter syndrome sort of thing. But yeah, if you make anything from stick figure comic to whatever, an oil painting, whether something about me or the stream or a RimWorld run, people have done a couple of those. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll put it on the website. Just let me know. JMick asks, do you have any hobbies outside of gaming that you ever want a chance to gush about? Not really like gush about, I guess. However, I used to watch a lot of movies and things back in the day, but for like 10 plus years, 10, 15 years, I barely watched any. I was always working or doing something else, or working on business stuff or whatever, playing games and stuff. So last year I decided I was going to start watching more movies. And so what I did is every Tuesday, just about every Tuesday, I think last year on average, I went to the theater once a week. And so I would just pick a movie, not really at random, but I would know like the title and the genre or something like that. And I would go in without knowing like anything else. So on Tuesdays, I would go in and I would just watch some movie. And it was a lot of fun. I saw a lot of things that were better than I would have expected. I would have never went and seen otherwise. And I saw a lot of bad stuff too. But overall, it was a fun hobby that had to make myself not monetize, right? That's been one of my problems, is not because of like an obsession with money sort of thing, but I feel like when you're self-employed and every moment that you spend could be put toward, the content creation side or whatever, toward your business in general. So when I was first thinking about getting back to movies, I was like, oh yeah, I could put separate YouTube channel and be like, here's what I think about this. No plans to do that. So that was a lot of fun. I haven't been able to watch as much this year because a lot of crap happened in real life, but I'll be happy to get back to that. Question number 7, Minock asks, Conan used to ask celebrities how many toilets they owned. And now that you're a celebrity, oh yeah, that's me. I must ask, Adam, how many toilets do you own? I own 3 toilets. Discotech asks, if you could take an all expense paid 2-week vacation with a family, where would you go? There is a ton of places that I would want to go. I would probably just about go anywhere as long as it's like relatively safe for me to go, right? However, you mentioned the family also, so I would probably have to think of something that is something on all of our lists, right? And so the first thing that comes to mind, this might be a stereotypical answer, is probably Japan. I'm interested in going to Japan, of course, but it's really my daughter. And hey, I would be down for that. So she would probably be more interested, as she is more interested in going to like the big cities like Tokyo and stuff like that. It'd be cool to see those kind of things, but I would more like to go to like some temples and rural areas and hiking and stuff. And hey, a couple week vacation, we could probably do a little bit of all that, right? So question number 9 is from Selen. Selen asks, when someone is desperately trying to be a better person because they believe it's the right thing to do, while actually being a terrible person deep inside, what is your opinion that matters more? The fact that they are trying to overcome themselves, or the fact that they still remain rotten to their core and nothing will ever change that? So if someone has like an actual condition that makes them like a horrible person inside, like actual psychopathy or something like that, while they're doing everything good that they can to be like an upstanding person in general, that's way more important, right? Like the vast majority of people that actually have like that are psychopaths, you know, that actually have that wrong with them. It's hard to say wrong with them, but like, that's just literally that's just how they are, right? It's something that they don't choose to be. They were like born that. Maybe there was a chemical imbalance, whatever the case might be. Most people like that live relatively normal lives, even if they don't feel as much empathy or things like that. That's how most of them are, right? Most of them are not going to go on to like torture animals or to, you know, become serial killers or whatever. So I would say this already is a thing in real life. And so, yeah, obviously it's more important that those people are putting in the effort to be upstanding citizens or even emulate them if they can't feel that they're that way. I think I read your question right, but yes, it matters a lot more what they do, what their actions are. Lig on these nuts. What is your favorite variety of melon? They say watermelon counts even though they're genetically cucumbers. So watermelon is my answer. Cucumber or not, I don't care. So watermelon is very nostalgic to me in general. I definitely ate a lot of watermelon growing up as a kid. If you haven't already, trust me, get a slice of watermelon, room temperature, not chilled. Put a little bit of salt on it. Just trust me. Trust me. I said this on the stream one time. Someone tried it, came back and said I changed their life. I probably didn't, but it is delicious. So I'm gonna go with watermelon. Dr. Blue asks, what do you think of an aquatic update to RimWorld, or maybe even an official vehicle DLC? It would be cool to have a ship battle or ship invasion events. So I don't think there will be ship battles or ship invasion events. I don't think anything points toward that. And in fact, one of the workers, the vanilla expanded people, not that it means that nothing from vanilla expanded will ever be brought to the game, but Oscar literally works for Ludian. And so them immediately working on it like a vehicle, a ship battle sort of mod kind of tells me that I don't think there's any plans in the background for anything like that soon. But I mean, I would be happy with any kind of aquatic or vehicle DLC. I guess now they would have to make sure they don't step on their own toes. Like the shuttle is so good, the shuttle and grav ship. Out of those two, if I had to pick, I would go with the more aquatic one. They could definitely do a lot with the water in general. Nubus, you seem to be a realist about everything in real life. Try to be, including accepting the cards you've been dealt. Would you say that playing RTS is part of the reason you are able to consistently roll the punches? Where do you think the endurance for this comes from? I don't really think that any like games, RTS, or any particular game genre help develop that as far as the philosophy and stuff. I think it's probably a combination of like growing up in a pretty traumatizing environment altogether, like this weird juxtaposition of how I grew up. But there's a lot of factors, right? So I talked a little bit about, kind of alluded to that don't suffer twice thing, the stoicism philosophy, which I try to internalize a bit of that. I don't agree with all of it. So kind of see myself, like you said, between realist and stoicism a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Just, you know, there's a million micro interactions over the course of my life that have stemmed off of that traumatic childhood that have probably, you know, coalesced into whatever it is that I am now. So number 13, Nubidin1919 asks, did you ever hit gladiator rank in WoW? I did not. I didn't super try. I think I probably could have done it with the right team and stuff. I'm sure like anyone could say that, you know, or a lot of people probably think that. And I don't mean just like carried. The highest I ever got, like end of a season or whatever, was Rival, which is the rank right before Gladiator back then. And that was on a pretty competitive server group. I was on Area 52 at the time during that portion. I think I could have gotten there, but like I said, maybe everyone thinks that though. Inazine asks, aren't you bored of RimWorld after all these streams? I get bored of RimWorld all the time. RimWorld is fun. It's a fun job, but it's still a job. Just like, you know, cashiers get bored ringing up bananas. Cashiers get bored. You know what they get bored of? That didn't ring up correctly. I guess it's free. I'm sure you can equivalent that to something that I answered in RimWorld. But no, I get bored of it, of course. So I try to keep things interesting by doing like challenges or themed runs or things like that, which I'll talk a little bit more in further along in this AMA. I've seen some other questions like that. But yes, I do get bored of RimWorld. Absolutely. Question 15, Lemon Spice 667 asks, you've mentioned changing your accent before. Any tips on that? I absolutely hate mine and would love to sound more generic, if that makes sense. Follow up. Thanks in advance for the changing your habits slowly. Munchable chunks. I'm on my streak of walking every day for a week now. It feels great. See? Munchable chunks works. Get down on a shirt. Munchable chunks. As far as the accent thing, I changed mine from a place of insecurity. I was getting sick of being made fun of and things like that, and I already had these other things that I was going through at the time. So, for better or worse, I did that when I was a teenager. I would say probably don't worry about it too much. You know, there's always going to be something that people can find to make fun of or push buttons, and there's a lot of people that are good about finding which ones. I'd say at the core of it, maybe try to get to the point where you don't worry about that quite as much. Now, having said that, if it's for other reasons or you just want to, that's your own prerogative. What I actually suggest, I think it's just like learning a language, right? So watching things, the accent that you want, listen to audiobooks, podcasts, reading things, especially reading out loud. And I'd also say that you can probably pinpoint like some problem words, or not even just words, but like sounds in whatever your accent is. So a good example for me is like where I grew up, hill is more like heel, right? You can try enunciating more, even over enunciating to start with. But I think it's like learning a new language, really. You just have to practice, obviously, like anything, and make sure you're consuming and putting yourself in the environment where you're hearing it used that way as well. Dohe asks, dude, where's that God of War Ragnarok VOD? Congrats, keep it up. It's somewhere, Dohe, I swear it's somewhere. If anyone that doesn't know, really quick, I'll mention what this is. So back when God of War Ragnarok first came out, like day of release, I played the hardest difficulty blindly on stream to give me God of War playthrough. Had a lot of fun, super enjoyed it. I did record it to put it up later, and it was on a removable hard drive, external hard drive. It got misplaced in the house, and now we've done like moving around of furniture and then the floor thing, and so this friggin' hard drive just keeps finding its way into hidden places, and that's on there. Who knows what else is on there? But yes, once I have that hard drive in hand, someday, any day now, I'll get that uploaded. To ADHD to not moonwalk. If you had to choose any of your old saves you still have to get back and do more in, which one would it be? So I actually think most of my saves I have. I have an old folder from forever ago that's literally titled RimWorld Old Saves. So I have some playthroughs from like 1.0 in there. Now, I know you were probably talking about RimWorld, but you didn't specify. So I'm going to answer this further because why not extend the runtime of this? Why not? It would be really cool to go back in time and recover save files from like Little Adam's first Pokemon Blue ending, you know, or Final Fantasy or something like that, and see like, oh my god, what were you doing with this materia this way? What are you thinking? You know, so things like that would be kind of cool to go back to and look at. But again, I'm pretty sure you mean RimWorld. I think I have most of my old saves. It'd be interesting to open some of them. Question 18, Caldazar asks, what is your favorite fantasy book series? Also, have you ever played Black and White or Kingdom Under Fire? I have never played Black and White or Kingdom Under Fire. I know the names, and I've never played them. I haven't read a lot of fantasy in quite a while, actually, come to think of it. So I guess favorite all time, maybe it's a cop-out, I don't know. I'm going to go with Lord of the Rings. I like the quintessential fantasy, I guess. But yeah, come to think of it, most of the books I've read in the last like 10, 15 years have been like horror, suspense, sci-fi. So yeah, Lord of the Rings, I guess. Rimden, do you have any ties to the outdoors, hiking, bicycling, riding, fishing, any non-gaming hobbies? I do like being outside. I grew up in a very rural place. I was always outside as a kid and, you know, did all that kind of stuff, fishing and hiking and everything else. I still like hiking a whole lot. Also, for quite some time, I was doing probably 10 plus mile bike ride just for fun, 3 to 5 times a week. I haven't done that in a little while now. I was gonna get a new bike, so maybe I'll wait till the spring and do that at this stage. But yeah, I was doing that most of the time instead of doing my walks. Right now I live in like northern Indianapolis, so there's not a crap load of nature. I mean, there's some like parks, you know, but as far as like going out just every day and being able to like, hit a trail or walk up the mountain or something like that, I haven't been able to do that too much since I was a kid. But yeah, I grew up outside when I was a kid for sure. I mean, like I said, I walk quite a bit. hiking and exploring or whatever when I can, or when I'm somewhere that I can. But most of the time these days, my hiking is walking around neighborhoods. SS asks, what is your ethnic origin? Have you ever been in Europe? I have not yet been in Europe. The United States is a huge country, and I've been to most of the United States, but I have not been out of the country yet. I had an opportunity to, and I didn't get to capitalize on it earlier this year. As far as my ethnic origin, I know these things aren't super accurate, but I did take two of those like DNA tests or whatever, and they came back as something like 92% between like English and Irish, right? And then like 6% in the like France sort of area, and then 2% other random things. So that's kind of a long way to tell you that apparently I am super white. Super white. Probably couldn't tell. There it came, you see? Probably couldn't tell because of my great complexion, you know? I'm definitely not pale. Othor asks, what are you most proud of in your life? Like, I know the easy answer is just say, you know, I'm proud of my daughter and stuff, which is true, don't get me wrong. I guess as far as like from myself, I guess I'm proud of like the perseverance that it took. Also lots of luck. I mean, obviously I've been lucky, but yeah, I talked a little bit about where I grew up earlier in this, but I was able to get out of the cycle of the area that I grew up in, if that makes sense. Going from like being a really poor kid surrounded by things like drinking, drugs, and violence, racism, all this kind of thing, in a place where there's not like a ton of opportunity either. Being able to get out of that and get to the point now where I have like a fun career, like who can say that they enjoy their job, right? Not only that, I make good money from this fun job, have a wife and a daughter. I'm living in a very safe place. My daughter is growing up in a neighborhood that's like best places to grow up in the United States sort of thing. Definitely not perfect, but I'm happy with the circumstance that I'm in now, all things said. So I guess I'm proud that I've made it to this stage. Keo asks, how do you get past protein pancakes? I've had them once and couldn't like it. Love pancakes, not protein pancakes. I'm pretty particular with things like that in general, so I usually have to go through like several kinds and brands and stuff where I find what I like. The ones that I like are the frozen, like full-size Premier protein pancakes. And I mean, I usually don't just have them by themselves. I usually have them with I make some homemade like chopped up apples and cinnamon, or maybe some other fruit that helps a lot for me. What's crazy is I'll get a box of them where they're like pretty flat. I mean, obviously pancakes are flat, not as fluffy. And then I'll get a box of them literally the exact same, like in the same visit, 2 boxes. And the second boxes are like really fluffy and stuff. So even hit or miss, you know, even among those. Question number 23, Gully Bella asks, what did you want to be when you grew up? So when I was growing up, it changed a whole lot, but so I won't go over all of them. But the very first thing I can remember ever wanting to be, I was probably about 5 years old, and I wanted to be like a park ranger, like a national park ranger or something like that. I think part of it that started that is actually because my grandma was always watching Texas Ranger, and I used to sing that Walker song. And then we had like a visitor that was like a Parks and Rec sort of thing at my kindergarten. I guess I like combine those sort of things. Like, yeah, that'd be cool. 7Gs asks, why do you call your wife Mod Wife? So a long time ago, I used to use kind of our real names back and forth a bit. I didn't like give our entire full name or something. But then I had a little bit of a scare early on in streaming where I was contacted and someone sent me pictures of my daughter. So I started to be very careful after that, way more so than I was before. You know, I've changed my stream name. I go by my middle name on stream. That's right. Adam's not my first name. And then I don't call my wife by her name. Probably people aren't going to find out anything. I try not to be too precise on where I'm saying I am on the north side or anywhere in particular, or what is super close or things like that. Oh, and the mod part is like, she was literally the first mod of the channel, right? She's just a moderator, but she's also my wife. So Mod Wife, that is her name now. Lu2CZ asks, how hard is it to balance streaming hours with your family? I would say like with everything, there's a balance, right? And also you got to remember, like if let's say I was back doing the operations manager, senior operations manager for call center stuff, which is something I'd done in the past. If I had a 30-minute commute and then I work 9 or 10 hours, a 30-minute commute, then in the day I would probably go on like 11 or 12 hours. Now though, if they need something, if my wife needs something or my daughter needs something, or they just want to say hi or they want to see me or whatever, I'm just literally upstairs, right? They can just come upstairs. So the availability of just being nearby is much better than a traditional job, right? So my wife and I definitely do things together. We go on all those walks together. I talk talked about and exploring, and she'll come to the movies with me when it's something that she cares about coming to see. Also, we have the benefit that we're both pretty introverted in real life, and that comes to play with her and I as a couple quite a bit because we like being together separately quite often, if that makes sense. We like to do our own thing within each other's presence. You guys have some of you like that? Where it's like, oh, I want to read this book, but I want to be in the same room as you while I'm reading it, even though it'd literally be the same if I was on the other side of the house or upstairs. I want to be in the same room. You can be watching something, watch a movie, whatever. But yeah, as far as work-life balance, it's the same, I guess, with any job, only I have much more availability if something is needed, or if I need to get up or something where I wouldn't be if I was at some office or whatever. Rip Van Wrinkle says, what would your absolute favorite meal or last meal on earth look like if you could choose anything? Thinking like maybe some comfort type food, like some like super good like pulled pork, some sweet barbecue sauce, some crunchy vinegary slaw on there, some brioche buns or something like that. I don't know, maybe some more comfort stuff for the side, like mashed potatoes and gravy that go well together. Who cares? The last meal. For dessert, let's go with like some Dutch apple pie. Big scoop of like warm Dutch apple pie with a scoop of like vanilla bean ice cream. Yeah. I'm thinking about like 100 different foods now though. I literally just ate before this and my stomach's like, hey, are you sure? You can eat more. Tepo asks, what's the stupidest, funniest run ending mistake you remember making in the early RimWorld days? So one of my very first runs ever, I lost a run to literally like 3 or 4 alpha beavers. So I was playing on a tundra map, and alpha beavers come in. It's the first time I had seen them. They're eating the trees. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna eat all the trees, which I don't even know why that mattered that much. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna go out and kill them. And I went out and I shot one. I had no idea it was gonna retaliate, let alone bring the other 3 or 4 to attack. And they all came running, and they downed everyone that was out. They chased people into rooms. They bashed down doors. They killed everyone. I literally lost the run to like 3 or 4 men hunting alpha beavers. Yeah, I was trying to stop from deforesting the tundra. Bananing Seal asks, you can only play 3 games the rest of your life. What do you choose? Let's go with 3 different things here. So I think I would play something that is most likely going to be updated a ton for just about ever, with tons of replayability, new stuff being added. Obviously, you're going to get sick of a genre of a game in general. You might as well have it be something that's a living ecosystem. Even though I haven't played it in a long time, I'd probably choose something like World of Warcraft. Then I have access to whatever, like classic things. Apparently, there's a classic of everything. What is it, like Mists of Pandaria is like retro now or something. So second one, I would probably want to pick something that's not a video game, something that's sort of timeless and could help with my brain. For that one, I'd probably pick something like cards, if you can just pick that overall, like poker or whatever. Lots of different things you do with that, or maybe chess, something like that, right? For the third game, I would probably pick something nostalgic that's also maybe going to stand the test of time a bit, or has already, right? So thinking, as you probably maybe have guessed if you've been around, probably StarCraft Brood War. Zembeva fan asks, which game ignited your love for not only video games, but also playing video games on a higher difficulty? Did you always like playing challenging games, or was it a certain game that unlocked that mentality? So the first games I can ever remember playing was Mario 1, Duck Hunt, and Black Bass Fishing on the NES. That's the first ones I can remember, and I was hooked from the get-go with that. As far as like challenge things, I was doing crazy challenges even when I was a really little kid, and I didn't even know that's what I was doing. So as mentioned, I grew up like a really poor kid, so I didn't have a lot of game choices, and a lot of times it was a long period between being able to play or try out another game, right, or even get a rental or something. So I had to get some like longevity out of all the things that I had. So for an example, I remember like my Pokemon Blue or Red or whatever is I would do this thing where it was like, okay, I've beaten the game, whatever, did all this, got all the Pokemon, whatever. And so I would restart it oftentimes, and I would be like, all right, this time I can only have bug type Pokemon. I'm going to beat the game, I'm going to beat the Elite Four, whatever, with only bug type Pokemon. So I'd play until I got to the first bug, as soon as I could, Caterpie or whatever. Then I would catch them, level 2, doesn't matter, dismiss the starter, dismiss everything else, and then I'd play from there. I wouldn't be allowed to have anything else other than bugs or whatever the type was that time. So I was doing things like that. I mean, it was for fun, but it was a way to prolong the game that I had. So if it's between something like that or playing like Super Mario World, where I'm never allowed to be big unless the level literally requires it, no mushrooms or anything like that, or Donkey Kong Country, where you're not allowed to use a DK barrel and you have to go through with only one Kong, stuff like that. I did lots of things like that as a kid. Jay asks, have you thought of going back to the 30-minute videos like you did for the Mechanitor? I know you said they don't make as much money but maybe try out a different game. I would love to see you play Satisfactory. It's not only a money thing, although it is pretty significant. Unless YouTube changes something, I don't plan to go back to the 30-minute ones because it punishes your channel for doing it that way. YouTube doesn't recommend things as a series, even if they're in a playlist. So what do I mean by that? YouTube will show someone that's not familiar with my channel episode 17 of something. Even if it looks interesting, if that person's like, all right, well, I'm not going to start on 17. Maybe I'll go look for episode 1 later, or maybe I'll come back, or they just scroll by it. Well, the algorithm's like, oh man, they passed up on Rimworld Mechanitor 17. Probably shouldn't show them much else. Okay, we'll try Rimworld Mechanitor 11. And then they scroll past that, and the algorithm's like, oh my god, they don't like anything from this channel. We're never going to show them this again. So it's things like that. And even people that are watching it, like, you miss a day, and you were on episode 8 or whatever, and you didn't watch episode 9, and then you see that 10's available, but you don't, you're like, oh yeah, right, I have to go to 9, and then YouTube's like, oh my god, they didn't see that, they didn't do this one, we're gonna start offering them less. And then, like I said, the money thing is important. Like, Supercuts make something like 5 or 6 times as much as 10 times as much as the episodic format, so it's just a lose-lose proposition. If you only want to watch 30 minutes at a time, you can watch the Supercut 30 minutes at a time, come back to it, it'll save your spot. As far as watching me play other games, I have played dozens, maybe hundreds of other games on the channel. There's like 250 hours of Satisfactory up on YouTube, so you can check that out if you want. If you want to see these other games, a lot of them are under the live tab on YouTube. The live tab, that's where VODs are stored, not just live stream. Zach asked, I've been thinking about getting into video editing from a creator's perspective. How do you communicate with your editor on what and how you want your videos to be presented? Oh, okay. So first off, I would say it's important to find someone that you mesh well with and that maybe have a similar personality, or at least the personality you're looking for. There's no shortage of people out there that can edit things for you, and there's no shortage of people that need things edited. So unless you're desperate or whatever, which is fine to be early, especially to build up your portfolio, your resume, so to speak, look for that, right? So I'm pretty chill with things in general, and then my editor seems to be chill with things also. So it's worked out pretty well. MSB Rich asks, watching your older videos, have to ask, what the heck is Urinal Chicken Champion? I need to hear the story behind that. So when I was in first grade, I don't know what it was, a little boy thing or whatever. When I was in first grade, there's all these actual like peeing contests that people would do. But specifically, our bathrooms in elementary school, the boys' bathroom, the urinals were trough urinals, like long trough urinals. And for whatever reason, we developed this game that was called Urinal Chicken, where one kid would stand at one end of the urinal, the other kid stand at the other, and you would pee towards each other, right? You'd pee towards each other, and then people would chicken out when the stream got close of them, and the person that was still standing there would win. So apparently I was pretty good at this game, and I don't know if I was holding in my chocolate milk that day or what, but I got challenged. I hope he never sees this, but this kid named Travis. And so we're standing on opposite ends of it. We agreed. I was challenged, right? We're standing on opposite ends of this urinal trough. We start peeing, and mine comes out like a friggin' rocket, okay? And he doesn't move out of the way. He stands there, and he kind of freezes up. And my stream, it doesn't just cross streams. It hits the kid, right? And he's getting soaked, but he's like freaking out and frozen because he can't believe what's happening, I guess. And I literally like soaked him. We're talking like peed on him, like on his face, like it's like dripping off his ear and stuff. And he starts crying. So I'm like, no, I know I'm gonna get in trouble for this, even though we agreed to this, right? So he comes out of the friggin' bathroom crying, and then the teacher's like, oh my god, and takes me to the principal's office. First time I had been to the principal's office, and I was telling them, I was like, it's not my fault. We agreed to this. This is like a gentleman's agreement. I didn't say that. Obviously, I was in first grade. It's like a gentleman's agreement, man. I had as much risk in this game as he did. It's not my fault. I was better at it. So, and they called my mom, and they were like, listen, Adam's a good kid. He's like, he makes all straight A's and stuff like that. Never been in trouble. So we're not going to suspend him or anything like that. He'll have to apologize to Travis, etc. Right? So yeah, I won Urinal Chicken. And that might bring you to say, Adam, but you say 2-time Urinal Chicken champion, right? So we were scared to be doing that much more, right? But next year, literally second grade, doing something on the playground, someone gets upset, and a kid named Eddie challenges me to Urinal Chicken. And the story basically repeats itself. So we go in there, and I win, and he doesn't move, and I soak him, and I get in trouble again. So long story short, that is what Urinal Chicken was. I never played again. I got in trouble. No one ever challenged me. I retired on top, 2-time champion. But yes, I absolutely soaked those kids in pee because they didn't move out of the way. And listen, my stream was just stronger than theirs. Okay. Matt asks, you are always so calm and collected when playing games. What's the most upsetting, annoying game moment you have had? The only really frustrating one that I can really remember on stream was during my when Darkest Dungeon was my main game. So back when Darkest Dungeon was the main game on the stream, I was doing this really crazy challenge that no one had done before, where I was playing through Darkest Dungeon on the hardest difficulty, all DLC, no light allowed at all. So you had to snuff the torch at the beginning. Weren't allowed to use torchlight, so it makes it much more difficult. And we were trying to go through the entire game, all DLC, every single boss, every dungeon, every quest with 0 light the whole way through and no deaths. If I got any deaths at any point at all, I had to start over. And I was doing this run, it was like the 20th attempt at it or something. And I had made it literally all the way to the Darkest Dungeon. So if you don't know Darkest Dungeon, it culminates in 4 final quest dungeons, right? We get into the boss of that first quest, and I just there's nothing I can do. Literally wombo comboed on turn 1. I don't even get a chance to take my turn. Things go first. They chain crit my Highwayman. It was actually the starting Dismas, for those of you that you know, and killed him. And I immediately, it sounded like I'd been punched in the stomach. The clip for this is out there somewhere. It sounded like I'd been punched in the stomach on my airlift, and I stood up and I left the streaming room. And then after like talking to my wife, she gave me a hug. I came back into the stream. I sat down and I started a new run. So, but yeah, that was really frustrating. I'll never. And I was thinking to myself then, I was like, oh my god, I might never have things line up like this again. This might be an impossible thing to do. And it took a lot more runs, but we did it. And that entire run's up on YouTube. It is very rough because it's a very old stream. Things were much different then, but it is on there. Proud of that run, but boy, that death after all that time was friggin' ridiculous. So. Shino PL asks, I am very curious why you decided to make your own channel, and if you remember what pushed you to make more and more videos. Was there any time that you wanted to stop streaming? So my first stream was in 2010 with the StarCraft 2 beta on Justin TV. I was mainly doing it to show people from like my StarCraft Brood War clan and stuff like that, StarCraft 2 beta that didn't get a key themselves, so I was in the beta of it. And I streamed very little. Like I would stream literally a couple of hours a month on no schedule. And then in 2017, I was talking to my wife and I was like, I really think I could do this. Like I was watching someone do variety streaming or whatever. And she's like, well, why don't you try it? I was like, okay, I will. So I made a schedule and I was like, I'm going to go straight to full-time hours of streaming while I was doing other work. And yeah, I mean, the rest is kind of history, I guess. I was pretty fortunate with the research that I did, being good research on what to play and what to do. And obviously luck was involved, it is for everyone. Yeah, I was really fortunate because I went from like single digit viewers to being partnered with Twitch, averaging like 80 to 100 in like 4 to 6 months at that stage from 2017 when I started doing the full-time hours. Is there a time you wanted to stop streaming? I mean, there was definitely some times early on I would average like 3 people, 4 people, whatever, 7 people for several weeks without anything increasing or going from like, I remember when IVAX was still around. IVAX was my only viewer that came to every stream. They were the only regular, the first regular I called IVAX, right? And there would be other people coming there too, but he was the one that was there like every stream. And then he didn't show up for a stream and then didn't show up for another. And I remember thinking, oh no, I've lost like one like regular viewer. You know, I didn't want to quit streaming, but it was like a gut punch. And then he showed up the next day and he was like, oh yeah, I was like really busy with work and this other stuff. He's like, sorry. I think about those moments, you know, and every viewer is still important. And I do remember tons of viewers, even newer viewers today. But man, back when like one person not showing up could be like 50% or whatever of your routine viewership was pretty rough, and it's pretty difficult to fill that dead air talking to yourself during all that time, right? So Alex H asks, why RimWorld? And RimWorld with their usual difficulty settings, such as no pause. So I'm like a big RTS fan, so I like how the game feels more when you can't pause. Also increases the stakes for me a little bit and like amplifies when things screw up and, you know, having to puzzle out how to get back from those and overcome those. Also say that part of it originally was to ruin streams for others. So I found that I would watch in the early days, I'd watch someone that didn't do pause with RimWorld. And then when they weren't online, I would try to watch someone that paused all the time, even though it's a really smart way to play. A raid would come and they would like pause it and they would click everyone to go where they're supposed to go. And then they would click through the raiders and be like, all right, I'm going to target this one first. Okay, I'm going to go through and find which one's a good pawn for like Shock Lance because I want a new pawn. And that's a smart way to play. It wasn't very entertaining to watch, for me at least, to see that every time, right? So that person ruined watching most people that paused for me. And so it was only natural that not only did I enjoy playing no pause and being more RTS focused, that I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to ruin it for others so that hopefully people will really like watching my no pause stuff. And then when they try to watch someone that pauses, I'll be like, I'll go back to Adam's stream, you know? So that's part of it. Bridget asks, excluding family members, who do you admire the most? So excluding family members, you didn't mention living or dead. I'll keep piggybacking on the whole philosophy stuff from earlier. So maybe let's go with like Marcus Aurelius. I guess I could name a lot of people, but anyway, if you don't know, he was a Roman emperor, philosopher, probably the most like famous for stoicism in general. I don't agree with like everything, but I do agree with a lot of it, or try to internalize a lot of it. But maybe even so, more than that, more than the philosophy, is that like he was in this position where he has like unimaginable responsibility, right? Like and looked on for things, looked up to for things, and all of this. Even so, he was able to like separate himself from that. He was able to write about like self-doubt and discipline, writing about what it means to be a decent human, at least what he thought it meant. I think I relate to it, not saying that I'm anywhere like on that level, but I do definitely suffer from like imposter syndrome type things. And it's nice to look at someone that's like in that position and know that they were that way too, you know what I mean? Maria asked, if it's not a secret, does the Modern Wife still write? And if so, what genre? Did she publish anything recently? I'd love to give it a read. Back in the day when she was writing for a living, it was definitely one of those like, it was writing fiction as a job, right? So she would write on average 2,000 to 5,000 words a day, every day. And then until the book was done, and then go into like revision mode. And while that was being edited or whatever, like start the next one sort of thing. So these days though, when she is writing, she's mainly toying around with like dark mystery type books, you know, crime type books, things like that. Whereas back when she was really writing a ton for typically young adult paranormal, think of like Twilight type stuff. But yeah, nothing newer that you can get your hands on at the moment. Chimples asks, do you almost always enjoy streaming? How often do you do it but not enjoy it? I pretty much always enjoy the act of streaming, playing games. I mean, like dealing with trolls and general people being idiots and everything is tiresome. Also, as like with anything that's like public like that and face forward, a lot of people expect your best, especially new people all the time, expect you to be perfect all the time. And with being on camera live so much for so long, you're gonna have bad moments, tired moments and whatever, and where you're not yourself, so to say. If you see someone act that way, and it's your first impression especially, it kind of imprints. And that's what they think of you. And you a lot of times you don't get a second chance at that. So, I mean, I've literally experienced this where I've seen like threads and stuff of this for me and for other people, where like someone will come to the stream and they might show up when, you know, it's been a stressful day, whatever the excuses are. Someone has annoyed me, pushed buttons, doesn't happen a lot. Maybe I gripe back at them. And then someone else had just clicked in the stream, and that's their first interaction. And that's the first thing they see. Or they came in and I wasn't talking for a little bit or something. Whatever, I wasn't at my best. And they'll leave and they might never come back to the stream. But not only might they not come back to the stream or ever give it another chance, when that person, like my name comes up on a Reddit thread that's like, oh, what's a good RimWorld streamer to watch? And someone's like, oh, I like adamvseverything. That person, I've seen this to me and others, reply and be like, yeah, I don't like him. I went to his stream and this is what he's like. So real jerk. I don't care for him. You know, that sort of thing. Is that fair? No, but that's I mean, I'm probably guilty of it as well, not from making those comments, but like that impression imprinting. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's really hard to like always have your good side forward when streaming. But yeah, I genuinely enjoy streaming and interacting with everyone. You know, I'm only human, so things are going to impact me. Yeah, sometimes that boils over on stream a little bit. Dragon Pancakes asks, what made you decide to make RimWorld your primary source of content? You originally played a lot of Darkest Dungeon. What made you switch? So after I finished that Darkest Dungeon challenge I talked about earlier, the stream numbers started to go down, right? I was averaging like 300 and something, and they started to trend down. And part of it was I just done like an impossible challenge for Darkest Dungeon. We didn't think it was possible. Like a lot of people didn't think it was possible, myself included. And there wasn't very much more to do with Darkest Dungeon from there. So going back to other runs like felt, you know, not as crazy, not as exciting. for me or viewers. Not just that, Darkest Dungeon hadn't had updates or anything in a long time. Darkest Dungeon 2 hadn't been announced or mentioned. And so the game category was trending down. My stream was trending down with it. And so I needed to do something. So I did something very similar to what I did to find Darkest Dungeon to play. I went to Steam and I picked 10 or 20 games. I was like, okay, I could play that game for thousands of hours. And then I had some criteria. I wanted to make sure that the game had like active development. So maybe it was going to get more updates or expansions or whatever. I wanted to, like I said, make sure that it was complex enough to be able to be played for thousands of hours and for me to be able to become an authority on the game, right? So I wanted it to be complex enough to be able to teach people about the game and make guides and stuff. I wanted to make content outside of just on Twitch for it. I also wanted the category of the game itself, the overall game on Twitch, to be over 1,000 viewers because I didn't want it too far down on all categories of all games for people just scrolling. And then within that category, I wanted my stream to be in either the 1, 2, 3, or 4 position. And the higher up on that, the best, but I probably didn't want slot 1 because that meant I was the biggest fish in the pool already. I wanted to be there when that bigger streamer stopped streaming so I could pick up some of the people, right? So lots of criteria like that. So I narrowed it down to like 5 or 7 games. And RimWorld was one of those that met all of those. And then I streamed each of those for a week, couple weeks each. And RimWorld was the one that got the most new viewers. And it wasn't as much as Darkest Dungeon yet, but it was more new viewers. And the rest, I guess, as they say, is history. But it was very analytical. It could have very well been that one of those other games I tried did the same or did better, or RimWorld didn't meet those criteria, and I could be in a completely different situation right now. So the big one asks, when will you play Norland again? Also, what's your shoe size? I'll probably play Norland at 1.0 unless someone picks it for marbles. My shoe size is 11.5. American size. I know it's different elsewhere. You can find out. Too Fat Crew asks, what is one of your next big life or career goals? I think the plan right now is to, work hard on the stream and content. Well, I mean, for good, but especially the next 4 years when my daughter is finishing up school, which is crazy to say. After we no longer need to be in the school district, I would love to be able to afford to move into a house I would like more, especially have like a streaming basement, and then also gravitate more into variety over time and hopefully be more successful with variety. Definitely want to start making some more edited content. Lady B asks, if you had to pick an animal to have to replace your hands, what animal would you choose? Chimpanzee or some great ape. All right, they don't have as much dexterity, so not as dexterous as we are, but it would be like less of an adjustment. You say, Adam, no cop outs, no great apes, no opposable thumbs. Let's go with octopus. Yeah. No further questions. No question. Octopus, yeah. Gavin asks, have you ever seen a UFO or had a similar type of anomalous experience? I haven't really seen a UFO. I grew up in a pretty like spooky place, out in the country, deep in the woods, southeast Tennessee. I literally had an Indian burial ground between where my house was and the small mountain behind us. Like actually, me and my friends found an old unmarked cemetery, family cemetery somewhere deep in the woods. Like it was a creepy place, Lots of little things like that happen, but they can be explained away, most of them. There's one thing that's happened in my life that is there's nothing I can think of an explanation for. I don't really want to talk about it because I know people are going to think whatever, that it isn't anything. And I kind of do too, right? This is coming from someone that's kind of a skeptic and a realist. But maybe I'll go in more details during like the Halloween stream or something. But the short of it is there was something that happened in the house when I was a kid, and my mom had a photo of this. And of course, I know you're going to say, of course, I think the same way. When my house burned down, we lost everything. We also lost that photo. I have literally never told anyone else the details to this. It's really crazy though. Maybe I'll open up about it. Diogenes. Anyway, they asked, has there ever been a playthrough you absolutely thought that was doomed, but you managed to save it? Or a playthrough you thought was in the bag that blew up in your face? A run that I managed to save like 40 times over was the original Melee only run. Not the Melee Gods run, but the original Melee only run. Absolutely the most crazy run I've ever done as a whole. I mean, we still have things like the high mate endings, the first anomaly ending, really hard things, but nothing stands close, I don't think, than the original Melee only run I did. Not edited, but it is up on YouTube if you want to see what I mean. It's a friggin' trip. As far as some of the ones that I thought I had in the bag and I lost, so the way it comes to mind is about 3 years ago, maybe. I was doing just like a Tundra run, like Pain is Virtue Tundra run. Ideology is relatively new, and everything was good. We had like 18 pawns, marine armor, something like that. Anyway, we're doing ship launch. We're at the very end, and we get a big pirate raid on the way in. I double click on a pirate to make sure they don't have any like doomsdays, triples, or something like that. Scan, don't see any. I send everyone up. I line them up, get them ready. I go do something else. No pause. No pause. I go to do something else. My screen's somewhere else. I hear the rocket go off. I missed one. It was off my screen. I didn't click it. Whatever. So rocket goes off. It literally hits everyone. Like 80% of people dead instantly. The other ones are laying there, and there's like 120 pirates flooding into the base. And yeah, crazy. The whole run was pretty straightforward, pretty easy up to that stage, honestly. And then because of no pause, partially because of my own not double checking, yeah, everyone got hit with a rocket, and game over. That's all it takes sometimes. JR asks, how did you celebrate beating the Darkest Dungeon Deathless Torchless Blood Moon run off camera? JR, you've been here forever. I'm sorry for the bummer of an answer, but I really don't remember. But I'll tell you what, you probably would already be able to guess this. If I did and I don't remember it, I'm willing to bet 99% probability that if I celebrated that, it was that I went and had Chinese buffet, because that's like my standby of minor victories. It's like, yeah, rough week, got this done, new stream goal, whatever, Chinese buffet. Bored Skiba asks, what's the most memorable moment that has happened on your stream? Do you have pineapple on pizzas? Is it okay to microwave leftover pizza? Some things that come to mind are like the very first donation I got, the very first big like raid and host that I got, like the time that God, I'm donating $1,000 at a get-go, you know, really crazy stuff like that. Also, like I've gotten some really nice messages. I got an email recently where someone was like, hey, I was around during the Darkest Dungeon days. I had a really dark time back then. I was really thinking about like, you know, I could have ended things. Things are really bad. You probably don't know, but your stream got me through that sort of thing. And I'm not just making it up. I'd probably be dead without your stream. But I really wanted to like thank you sort of stuff, right? So there's moments like that that are super memorable. I save these messages. But anyway, this pizza question, pineapple on pizza, I say put whatever you want on your pizza. I don't give a crap. You put cat food on it. I don't care. Unless you're force feeding it to me, I don't care. Me personally, I do like pineapple on pizza. End the video. Unsubscribe. Hang on a second. I don't really like it with the Canadian bacon with the ham. If you like pineapple, but you don't like the pineapple pizza, I suggest you try it with pepperoni. The sweet and spicy, savory and sweet. I mean, that's a perfect combination. It always is for every other thing. If you're saying it doesn't belong on a pizza, listen, I've had all kinds of crazy pizzas that were great. I've had breakfast pizza where the crust was biscuit and the sauce was gravy, breakfast gravy with sausage and hash browns and stuff on top of it. Delicious. I've had apple pie pizza from CC's. Delicious. Should pizza be microwaved? No. My favorite way to reheat pizza is I put it on a sheet pan, and I put it in the oven. I put the oven to preheat to like 300, and the pizza's like almost like it wasn't as fresh. Way better than microwave. Raven Wolf says, favorite color combo. Blue is my favorite color because, as I mentioned before, when it comes to those kind of things, I'm a basic. Did I just bleep myself? That's right. And then as far as combos go, I don't know. There's a lot of cool combos. I really like black plus color, especially bright colors. So I'm a big fan of pink, but you put black and pink together, you know, awesome. Black and purple is good. Stuff like that. Black and green, like the bright greens. Denise Lynn says, cake or ice cream? I like both, but if I had to really think about it, I think I usually have more and gravitate more towards ice cream than cake. Because the long one. Freldso asks, while you are streaming at an unassumed regular schedule with no other external motivations, my wife is interested in handing you a 12-ounce Dr. Pepper Zero drink, chilled but not bitterly cold. However, your child is offering to hand you a reasonably sized plate with a variety of cut cheeses and meats, the kind you would find enjoyable at the exact same time. Which would you choose to accept first, assuming both offer the same, or at the same time? I think practically speaking, if I have to think about this, I would take the larger object first, the plate, and sit it down before I take the drink, so I don't like knock the plate into the drink or spill it or whatever. I'd also probably take a bite before I took a drink. So the plate, I guess. What a question. Yeah, thank you for so. Captain Nuclear Rhino asks, would you go through the turmoil becoming a streamer all over again? Yeah, I think I would do it differently though. I think like, so early on, I went straight from like having basically no schedule to literally streaming every day, like 6 hours. So in retrospect, I would have probably cut off like 2 or 3 of those days, or maybe 2 or 3 of those hours per day, and made other content like guides on YouTube and stuff like that. Alex B asks, What do you do or play to decompress with after a stream? So I haven't done that in quite a long while, but used to, like maybe after dinner or so, I would do something with a quick round to it. So like quick-ish round, so like a round of Slay the Spire or something of that nature, like through a Balatro, something like that, right? And then recently, when I was recovering and in tons of pain, I was sitting on the couch. I was playing like Mario RPG and Mario Kart on the Switch too. Usually relatively chill stuff. Westak asks, what was it like growing up in rural Appalachia? So some of my favorite memories and then like some of my most traumatic memories are all from growing up there, right? Of course, like anywhere can have its good sides and its bad sides and whatnot. I think some of it was amplified in both directions by the rural remoteness, right? I'm happy I was able to like grow up in this weird juxtaposition of being like outdoors and in nature all the time, and sort of like that country living that you think about or see on things or hear about or read or whatever, like running around with no shoes, no shirt, no service, from like when school let out all the way till when school let back in throughout the summer, unless I was like forced to go to church or whatever. But then coming inside in the evenings or in the mornings or whatever and like playing video games, right? So that weird juxtaposition of that like country boy hillbilly upbringing with the dawn of more accessible video games, being able to do both. Yeah, I don't know. It was a crazy time that I grew up in. I feel really lucky in a lot of ways, but yeah, there was also a lot of traumatic stuff that I've a couple times on stream about some of it. I mean, I can't say I wouldn't have changed a thing, but overall, yeah, it was nice, nostalgic. Dagger's asked, you mentioned during the StarCraft 2 run that you disliked the campaign ending. Was it just that Blizzard had to retcon stuff, make it into saving the universe, or was there something else I disliked? There's like a ton of little grievances of the story that stack up over time that I could go over. I really like the route they took with Kerrigan, but even more so with like Amon and the Kala and all that sort of stuff. I've talked about it a little bit before, and I'll probably talk about it more as we play through it. But Blizzard has this problem, it's not just them, where they have to go bigger. They have to keep going. It has to be like fabric of reality, altering ending, fight gods bullcrap, right? You can tell a really great story on a smaller scale, right? You don't have to always scale up and one up the previous chapter. People that don't know what we're talking about are like, what the crap? Watch my StarCraft 2 nostalgia playthrough, ongoing right now. But maybe it's done by the time you see this. Skabob asks, I'm 21 and often feel like I'm lost. Like I lost so many opportunities. Now it's too late to start. I'm shriveling up. I'm the Crypt Keeper. So what can you recommend to people in their early 20s? Do you have any regrets that you didn't try, did something wrong in this age? If you had the opportunity to be 21 again, what would you do? Skabob, here's the secret. You're always going to feel like it's too late to start. There's a saying that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. You wanted to already know how to play the guitar? Well, if you had started learning it 20 years ago, which from you would be 1 year old, yeah, you'd already know. You'd already be pretty freaking good at it, right? But if you want to be good at it 20 years from now, then you can start today, right? You can gift yourself that in the future. And you know what? One thing that kind of helps, I would say, and some real examples of that are people that started these things late that you can look up to. Like for me, the one I always think about is like Tolkien. He didn't write The Hobbit or publish The Hobbit till he was like 45. And Lord of the Rings he was in like his 60s, right? Colonel Sanders didn't start KFC until he was in his 60s. Alan Rickman, rest in peace. You're probably like, who the crap's Alan Rickman? I keep thinking this because you're 21. Alan Rickman, I don't think he didn't get his big break until he was in his 40s too, right? With Die Hard. So, and to answer your other question, like most of my regrets are things like I should have started sooner. So I wish I had tried X, Y, or Z. Start now, it's not too late. Tomorrow isn't too late either. Plant the tree. Scattle22 asks, you said once that your favorite band was Tool. I did. Are you a huge fan of rock metal bands overall, like Metallica, Pantera, or maybe even some subgenres like Soundgarden or Alice in Chains or grunge? Predominantly my everything playlist, I would say, is like has a ton of different things, but also has all kinds of different sides of rock, right? So including the ones you mentioned. But for the most part, I'm someone that I think most people this way. I like songs over bands. My favorite bands or artists just happen to be the bands or artists that are responsible for having more of my favorite songs under their albums, right? There's like so many bands and singers and stuff, groups, where I like just like 2 or 3 or 4 of their songs. I wouldn't really say they're like one of my favorite bands or whatnot, but I really like those songs a lot. Even Tool, I know they're my favorites, but you get some hate probably from crazy fans where it's like, you have to like every single, well, there's some Tool songs that I I don't prefer, for instance. Scully Wicks, if you had to start speedrunning in a game, what would it be? I think you would speedrun the best. So I'd probably pick something that would segue into similar games, right? So maybe some like difficult 2D platformers. I think I do pretty well at that based on reaction time and stuff. Could segue into other ones, into ROM hacks and stuff like that, right? There's speedruns of ROM hacks even at like GDQ and stuff like that. Are you down for that? Chumako asks, what's your favorite type of snacks in the cinema? So I get the popcorn on Tuesdays. Popcorn is free for members, and I'm a member, so I get free popcorn. Popcorn, they have all these like shakers of different flavoring. I usually do the white cheddar. The last couple times for all this mouth surgery business that I got to go, I got some like garlic ranch or something, and it was delicious. And then as soon as I was done, I felt like I stunk from the garlic, but it was good. KO asks, what did you do to figure out video editing? I winged it, I winged it. So I just screwed around, and then when I would run into something that I didn't know, I would Google it. I'd search on YouTube. I'd find a tutorial. I'd find someone that did it. Then I would save that into a bookmarks folder because I knew I'd forget and need to come back later. All of the knowledge is out there. So, and now with like Discord and stuff being so accessible, there are places you can just go at any time. Be like, hey, does anyone know how to do this? And they will tell you, or they'll be like, idiot, here's the link in Google. Why don't you try Googling it next time? But either way, you get to the answer eventually. Squirmy D asks, would you rather always know the last person who farted in whatever room we walk into, or know the details of the last argument that was had in that room? Listen, I don't mean to be capitalistic here, but I could probably more easily monetize being able to tell the argument thing. Look, I'm sorry, I have bills to pay, So I guess I would go with the argument thing. Hannah Bug asks, how many owls would you have to see in one day before you start to wonder what's going on? Also, can we see all the goats? Hannah, I would probably have to see 2 or more, maybe. So in the like 10 years I've lived here, I've seen 2 owls, and both of them were like one at a time, like independent thing, and years apart. They started gathering. There was like more than 2. I'd probably wonder what was going on. As far as all the goats, I don't have time to get them all out and show you it. I'm sorry. I'll show it on. You know what? Streamathon's coming. I got plenty of time to kill. Ask me on the Streamathon. Okay. King English asks, I'm currently studying as a mature student for a degree in politics, economics, and philosophy. What is your educational background? And if you had the time, what would you study now? So I went to college for the first time. I went to college for psychology. So it was with the intent of being a criminal profiler, but I'm glad I didn't really use it for that or use it for anything, honestly. I started learning about like real cases, and cases of like children and these horrific things or whatever. Learn about how like all these profilers, like one of these careers with a lot of depressed people, suicidal people because of the things they have to deal with and witness. So as interesting as, psychology was, probably for the best I didn't go that route. And I would have probably ended up being a psychiatrist or something, a social worker even or something, I don't know, instead, to be honest with you, at the end of the day. Today, if I was going to, I'd probably do it just for the fun of learning about the topics, right? Not for a degree. So I'd probably go with something like, again, a history course of some kind, especially one that's like really drilled down to a very specific thing. Epsilon asks, if you were a burglar but could only steal things that would mildly inconvenience your victim, no monetary value, just pure annoyance, what would be your target? Let's go super evil with that one. Let's go charging cables. They also ask, if you could have any superpower but you could only use it for mundane everyday tasks like super speed for your laundry or telekinesis for reaching the road, what would it be and what would you use? I'm gonna go with something to do with cleaning. I have a superpower where I snap my fingers and the room becomes clean. Like all the dusting is done, things wiped down, floors cleaned. Epsilon also asks, if you do a stream collaboration with anyone, famous, fictional, historical, doesn't have to be a gamer, who would it be and what would you do? Oh man. Again, I have to think about like monetary wise, like what would be the biggest impact of the stream in a positive way? I mean, you could say things with historical, fictional, or whatever that would fill it up, but then like, would people believe that's who it was? It'd be like, this is friggin' AI. Like if I bring in an alien on there, like a real alien or something, let this friggin' AI or someone in a suit, or like, all right, let's have, I don't want to get like religious, let's bring Jesus on there or something. It's like, this guy, what? That beard's glued on. He's doing the Santa Claus here. So I don't think that would end up going over well. So I'd probably think of someone that I think would be fun to hang out with. So I actually talked, had a message back and forth like once on Facebook ages ago when this guy was just getting started. Flula Borg. I have like a letter with some some pins that he sent for me and my wife. It was not like we knew him or friends with him or anything like that, but when he had like literally like 180 followers on Facebook long time ago, and he was like sending that out. It's like, oh, I hit 100 followers on Facebook. Here, I'll send you a letter. That sort of thing. It's crazy. Anyway, I'd probably like have him or like Conan O'Brien or someone to like just joke around with and stuff. And that'd be really fun. Outside of that, though, for like more of a intellectual type thing, that Brian Cox guy, he's a physicist. I always like listening to him talk about things. I'd like to ask him questions and stuff. That'd be more of a podcast, I guess. Or like for someone that kind of fills both of those, like scientific questions plus funny to hang out with, like Bill Nye or something. That'd be a pretty cool experience, a cool stream. Yin asks, how orange does Aries act on average? Is it like super orange? Does he hold the brain cell more than usual for an orange? So Aries is smart but annoying. He's annoying because he is so smart, right? So he does some super dumb things like all cats do and all orange cats do. He'll go through like a complex series of like 5 or 6 compounding actions to try to get what he wants. So like he'll try to get something from my wife downstairs. She won't give it to him. He'll come up here. He'll like chirp out there, and I won't pay him any. I will tell him no or whatever. And then he'll get up on my desk, and he knows to get just out of range where I can reach. He knows to specifically which cables are important for the stream, make me have to get up and go over there. Like there's dozens and dozens of cables in here. He knows the specific ones, over trial and error, which ones have me get up. And then when I get up and gripe at him, my wife hears and will call for him, and then he goes down there and then he gets attention or whatever the crap he wants, right? So that's just a very minor. There's usually more steps to it, but you get the idea. So Aries smarter than he should be and annoying, but annoying in a funny way usually. TechVet asks, what does the alert command actually do? Does it help support the stream? The command actually doesn't do anything. It's leftover from Darkest Dungeon. Darkest Dungeon had the lurker trait, which was a trait that helped out in darkness, made you do more damage in darkness. And then lurking on Twitch and YouTube and streams is an actual thing that helps. But the command itself kind of like is a fun thing between lurker, game trait, lurker, and chat. The command doesn't do anything. Lurking on the channel does, though. If you have the stream up and it's running, it's not muted. It can be muted on the tab. And you don't have more than 2 streams. So a lot of people don't know, but if you have more than 2 Twitch streams running, like you're trying to help out 5 streamers, you have 5 Twitch streams running, you only count as a viewer on the first 2, or on 2 of them. I don't know how to choose which 2, but that is a true thing. Always has been. Being a viewer count number, even if you're not typing in chat or actively watching at that moment, helps incredibly. Using the command in my chat is just for fun. Soviet Sean asks, is there a chance you will let the name system cycle all names entered instead of resetting every month? It already does this. I have never reset the name thing since it stopped being a queue. It has been ever since it's been a raffle, it's never reset. And when someone gets chosen, all their names are deleted. Like these people get drawn and then they keep watching and keep supporting or whatever. And I know you can't be there all the time. I'm not saying in a negative way, but they get their name in again because they've gotten those points. Just remember that there are ways to get into the raffle other than just Twitch channel points. You can also be a member on YouTube or Patreon, or I'm going to have a way to sign up for it on my site here pretty soon. But there are other ways to do it. But no, it does not reset, and sometimes people are just really lucky at getting it multiple times. I have people in that list that have like hundreds of tickets and have not been in, so it's just luck of the draw, man. That's how the raffle goes, Lint6, has there ever been a sponsor that you didn't believe in, but you took the sponsorship because the money was so good? No, but I have 2 quick stories about that, hopefully quick. Years ago, 2020 or something like that, when I got approached by a sponsor, and they were offering me way more money than a sponsor had ever offered me. By a lot. To put it in perspective, most were offering me back then like low triple digits, right? And so this person came to me, or this company, and they were like, we'll pay you $5,000. Like, holy crap, what? They're like, $5,000 for 1 hour. It was a legitimate sponsor. However, what it was a claw game, a crane game, whatever, thing that you play remotely. So they basically have this warehouse, and they have tons of those claw machines set up, and then you play it through their website, where you control it to catch. And if you get it, they will send it to you, and you just pay shipping on the thing that you won. Okay, interesting idea, novel idea. But the kicker was, they were like, all you have to do is you have to play this for an hour, and we're going to give you money to play with, but you're not allowed to tell people that we gave you this money. You have to use it, and you have to act like you want to keep spending your own money. You have to make it seem like you're wanting to continue this, and it's a good deal to win these things. So yeah, I turned that down. In recent years, Actually got contacted by GamerSups, and actually wearing their shirt apparently. GamerSups and G Fuel at like the exact same time almost, within the same week. They both wanted to sponsor the stream long term. They both sent tons of samples. My wife and I tried them all, and we were drinking them. We were like, oh man, why is the GamerSups one so much better? They have such stupid names. Why is Anime Girl Thigh so good? It's so much better than G Fuel. We didn't like G Fuel at all, really. It was more of a diet taste. It was like a strong diet taste. It made like a weird mouth feel, like a dry feel afterwards. Didn't really like it. And then when I got in my follow-up call to the G Fuel people, they were like, so what'd you think about our drinks? What'd you think about them? Like, I don't know. I didn't really like very many of them. Maybe one I could see myself drinking occasionally, but it wasn't really for me. And they're like, oh, yeah, no worries. We're going to send you a shaker cup that's a solid color, and you can put whatever you want in it. And just tell people you're drinking G Fuel. You can drink water, soda, whatever you want. Just tell them you're drinking G Fuel. And I was thinking, what? You're telling me this? It makes me wonder how many of those people drinking G Fuel, those big streamers, getting paid bank, and they don't even like it or whatever, or they've been told to lie. They literally are lying. I'm sure they're out there. So I ended up going with GamerSups. GamerSups was paying way less. It was like 1/5 or something. But I also just really liked, like, if GamerSups stopped supporting the stream, I would keep drinking their drinks. They're really good. Some of my favorite ones. Actually, my favorite drinks. Long story short, if I'm telling you that I like something or something seems pretty good deal, I legitimately think so, whatever I'm saying. So you might not agree, but that's how it is. Emily asks, what makes us human? The first thing I think about is like our superpower. So what am I talking about? So human superpower is the ability to like communicate ideas using like complex language from one to another, even unto future generations, right? So what do I mean by that? No human has to start at zero. When humans as a group or even individual or whatever the size, figure something out, that can be recorded in text or whatever, in information. And then instead of having to relearn that and do all the trial and error or whatever the case was that led to that discovery, people in the future can just read that and go from there. They don't have to work back from the get-go, right? So I think one of our superpowers is being able to communicate those ideas, like I said, through complex language, so we can really show what we mean by something, not just broad ideas, right? And to one another while we're alive, but also on to the future, right? I mean, combine that with consciousness, even though now some scientists are saying that it seems like consciousness might be like an emergent property, an inherent emergent property of the universe. And I'm not going to get into that, start talking about that. That's why we need that Brian Cox guy to come on. Let's just say even the ability to ponder the question, what makes us human, is part of what makes us human, right? So Galoomy asked, in the 1990s, you made your name as the urinal chicken champion of Southeastern Tennessee. It was only a matter of years later that the prophecy future materialized when you began dressing up as a chicken and playing scary games for work throughout the month of October. As you progress in your career, are there any other animals you are hoping to incorporate into your career or superlatives? No, not at this time, I would say. If not, what are some other ways that a chicken will continue to be utilized? Primarily, I will wear a chicken suit for the scary games, and I will also continue to eat chicken. Also, if you encountered that same kid today and he challenged you to a rematch, would you take him on? No, I don't believe I would. There's a lot of problems with that. No, I don't think I'll be doing any more peeing contests in my life, and definitely not with children involved or challenging any children. Let's not describe that any further. Could you describe your ideal arena? No, I don't believe I will. Cobalt, how do you like your eggs cooked? I like eggs in general, so almost every way that I've had them within reason. I don't like them too dry or rubbery. But I'll go with two of my favorites. So scrambled that are not dry or rubbery, like I said, but also like over easy. A good runny, like over easy egg, especially depending on what else is with it, you know? I kind of want eggs Benedict now, like a poached egg. Poached is good too. I like eggs. From Definitely Anonymous, another Anonymous got through. There were some people that were like upset that they had to put in like their username. Sorry. Anyway, what is your favorite movie? My favorite movie is Lord of the Rings. You might say to yourself, Adam, Lord of the Rings is 3 movies, but no, it still only counts as 1. As promised, I'm gonna open the play button and then I gotta go. Ooh. Congratulations on your subscriber milestone. We are honored to take part in recognizing your achievement and want your experience to be exceptional. This award was inspected and packaged with great care by Rick. Thanks, Rick. Whoa. Check it out. Presented to Adam versus Everything for passing 100,000 subscribers. Whoa. An actual thing. Looks like it's got my actual name on it. Thank you again for 100,000 subscribers. I don't think I'll ever hit 1 million, but who knows? Maybe we'll reference this video someday, and I will. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for subscribing. As always, thank you for watching. I'll see you again really soon. If you have any other questions for me, you can ask all the time, anytime, on the stream, online answering questions, Discord, whatever. That was fun. It went really long. I am sorry. Surprising to no one. I was long-winded, but that was a lot of questions. Thank you guys again. Like I said, as always, thank you for watching.